Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Don't see what's yours for the taking tonight. Ooh, show me your soul, baby. I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Can't you see it's way past time? How explicit do I have to be? I mean, I spell it out before you get it, baby. Show me your soul, and honey, I'll show you. I'll show you.
Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. Your host, Lauren Michaels Harris, and it is Friday. It is Friday. Yay, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. TG to the, what are the other letters? I to the F. Right. Okay, that was almost a senior moment. I am so excited to be here. Welcome to today's show. Our theme this year is Show me your soul and I'll show you mine. We're going to do that today, as always. And you know, I always have to say it because it has to be said. I am so proud, encouraged, uplifted, and honored that all of you come here so that we together can fulfill one of the greatest promises known to man. And that is the one that says to us, I was going to say promises, but it's a promise. So yeah, it does promise. That we're two or more of us that are like-minded, that are soul connected. We come together and wonderful things happen. It's happened all week, starting with Fallon Flowers on Tuesday, because you know Monday was a holiday, so we had a rerun. And then Perry Power from the UK came in on Wednesday, Tucker Bearden yesterday, and today is no different. I have a great guest for you today, and a first-timer who has never, which means he's never been here, but not just that. We're going to be talking about something I bet you some of you have never heard of. I know I hadn't till I came across Gary Stewart. I'm going to get into a little bit more about him. But first, what are your plans for the weekend? You know, that one right after a holiday sometimes can be like compared to everything we did last weekend. I am excited because the team is coming here. Well, first of all, tomorrow I am coaching this 12-year-old prodigy. His name is Sebastian Reina, and he has a wonderful book that has just hit the ground running. He is presenting it to Publishers Row on the 16th, and we're prepping him for that. So I've been working with him virtually, but he comes tomorrow in person. So I'm really excited. He's 12 years old, and his mom will be here. It's just going to be a great time playing tennis tomorrow. But the team is coming to start moving everything that, well, I don't know if we'll move all this stuff yet, but we're going to go and get things set up down in my man cave where I'll be relocating because of the iHeartRadio show through iRock Radio on iHeartRadio. Cosmo Sapiens. Yes, yours truly is moving into the space world. So Judy Jetson, get ready, girl, move over because I'm on my way. So anyway, things are going to be changing around here. So keep your eyes on. So let me see. Oh, I was looking, I don't do this very much, but something told me to today as I was going through, what are the hot trending things in the news today? I'm just going to give you the headlines. Check them out if you think they're interesting enough. President Biden announces sweeping vaccine mandates affecting millions of workers. I heard something about that. I know I heard something earlier in the week about one of the airlines was taking the extra money or something from all of their employees that weren't vaccinated. They're not getting it anymore. They're like pushing people towards the vaccination. I'm vaccinated. We're having a party like we do every year at the end of the summer, and we are only inviting people that are fully vaccinated, and they got to prove it. But that's a choice. You know, choice is important. So I think it's not right or wrong. Well, I'll keep that. Throw that away. But I'm just saying, it's a choice. We have to respect each other, right? So that's going on. What else? There's a brand new trailer out for Diana, Princess Diana, the musical. I didn't know she could sing. Okay, well, anyway, but I loved her. I remember that day when she passed away. Her, Lucille Ball, and Karen Carpenter. Cried my eyes out. Karen Carpenter, I couldn't even get out of bed that day. Could not get out of bed. Oh, anyway, what else? Oh, Macy's Thanksgiving Parade's coming back this year. They're going to have the crowd, the balloons, all of it. That's going to be interesting. I hope they're masking. Let's see. And Michael Constantine. Remember him? He was the dad in the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding. He passed away yesterday, I believe, at the age of 94. What a full life, right? But he had a wonderful career. I'm sure you all know. Here's something interesting. Raven Simone, remember her? She has a new spinoff, a Disney spinoff. And, you know, Raven is LGBT. Started coming out, I think it was 2013 or so. And they wanted her to make her character on this spinoff a lesbian. And she refused. And I had to read that one. I was like, why? And she said, well, because the Raven that everyone knows was, you know, she was hetero. Let her have her moment. You know, and she goes, just because the actress who plays her is gay does not mean that the character needs to be. I thought that was interesting. Good for you, Raven. Good for you. So anyway, that's just a couple other things that are going on in the world of celebrity. And what is that? Y'all know what it is. It's the Bell of Purpose. It's not some clever gimmick or, you know, little, what do you call those? Prop. It's not a prop on the show. Actually, the Bell of Purpose is there because the truth has what? That's right, a ring to it. So when you hear the bell ring, it means that something is out there. Some big truth is out there. You might want to take it with you to make your life go from great to greater, bright to brighter, strong to stronger. So when you hear the bell, lean in, listen up, take it with you. There it goes. And at this point, as always, every day, Monday through Friday, help me welcome my sidekick. This is my personal version of Ed McMahon. This is Lucy McGillicuddy Ricardo. And y'all know I love me some Lucy. Even my daughters, also known as cats, Lucy and Ethel, right? Love her. Love her. You might be surprised if you read her story, all the things that she did that people don't know. I'll give you a couple of them. First of all, she was in vaudeville because that's the only place women could like try to be funny. And then she wanted to get out of that, and she became, which was unheard of at the time, a redhead supermodel. She did. She became the lead, one of the most successful models for Max Factor. And then she got into television. She was the first woman to actually be pregnant on television, fought for that. And she invented, Lucy herself, the 3-camera technique of filming with the little red light. Remember when Cindy Brady got stuck? Yeah, before Lucy invented that, the patent still holds today. It was the 1 camera, like on the Honeymooners, where you saw the stage and they'd come in and go off, but it never moved. You never saw what rooms they went into. Thanks to Lucy, we have soap operas, movies, and everything that switches from person to person, place to place. That's why I love me some Lucy. Okay, who's here today? Who is he? Well, his name is Gary Stewart, Stuart. He is an #1 international best-selling author. Get ready for this one. I bet you never heard of this. Master Constellation Facilitator. He's going to explain all that. He's a speaker, and he's been facilitating transformative healing experiences for over 2 decades. His skills and techniques help expand consciousness while resolving lifelong challenges, stagnation, and negative family patterns. There's a lot more, but I'm going to save it because I can show you better than I can tell you. So put your hearts into it, as we always do. Let's have another illuminated conversation, shall we? And put some hearts on the screen, because guess what? Here he comes, the Master Constellation Facilitator, Gary Stewart. Hi, Gary.
Hi, how are you?
I'm awesome. How are you?
Great. Happy to be here bright and early.
I know. Where are you in the world?
Arizona, near Sedona, Arizona, one of your favorite places.
It is one of my favorite places. My soul is going to Christopher Creek on its way to what's next. And I'm going to make a stop in there. If you're in the area and I happen to pass first, I'll stop in and say hi to you.
Okay, well, you can come out while you're alive.
I was going to say, and even if I did with what you do, it wouldn't matter where I was in the constellation. You would be able to most likely connect if you wanted to. We're going to talk about that. Fill in some of the things I may have avoided or missed in the thing, because there's so much.
Yeah, well, constellations has nothing to do with astrology. Is my voice okay? Do I need to be louder, or is that good?
I just turned up. You could go up just a bit.
Turn it up a notch here. Yes, and it has nothing to do with astrology. It's almost like our family system has a pictograph, which also is an image of what was really going on in the family. Way back in the 1960s, some female psychotherapist was saying, well, what is the architecture of the family? Why is the father way over here and the mother and kids are here? What created a separation in that family? So it's a real multi-dimensional look at our family system and our past and how we fit into that. I know we did a live experience with you on Zoom the other night.
We did.
Quite amazing. No one in the room knew anything. So we use people attending any workshop as reps to represent. We had a representative for you, and then we added your mother, your father, and a lot of stuff came out very fast, very hard hitting, and very real. And it's amazing what we carry that we're not conscious of. So we're
absolutely. And I'll tell you, one of my bucket list things was checked off. Not the obvious one that I know you're thinking, but that rep that I had. I always wondered what I looked like as a white guy. Yeah. So that was kind of nice. I got to see that, but it was a really unique, and I'm choosing carefully. I want to say eye-opening, but I would say more of an awakening, which is not the same thing. Right. Experience for me. It was interesting. It was like watching a play, but you knew it was about you. It was just, well, you're going to tell us more about it. Yeah. And yes, I did. We did, because I felt like I was in it, even though I was, here in Chicago and you guys were out there. Yeah. But it felt like I really was hearing like my birth mother. And when I say hearing, it wasn't just what was coming out of the reps' mouths. Right. It was almost like a visual. It's hard to explain. It's one of those things you have to experience it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the great thing about it is the reps, I didn't even know your family history. So I
Right.
was going to track the energy that was coming through the reps, so to speak, who didn't even know your name. I said nothing. I said, we're going to rep this person. They're going to be on Zoom. I didn't even state your name. And your rep was quivering. I certified him as a facilitator, but he's a doctor in his own right. And
Oh,
shaman as well. So everyone.
another one of my bucket lists.
Exactly.
Well, and the interesting part was, I'll be honest with you, I was watching and I'd muted myself and stuff, and I didn't know what they were doing. I thought they were warming up or something. Remember when she was over by the plant?
Yeah.
And they were talking about what they were feeling, and then I was like, oh, they must be getting ready. They're practicing or something. Then suddenly it was like something grabbed me and kind of pulled me inside of the experience, and I was just stuck from that point forward. And I knew it was about me, which was a feeling more than a visual.
Yeah.
So, Gary, you've been doing this work in one form or another for a couple decades, according to your bio. Now, tell people the difference between what you do and going on the internet to something, let's say, like Ancestry.com.
Sure. Well, we all, one joke I always make, we all come from a long line of dead people. And we have pieces of our great-grandfather's DNA, our great-grandmother's DNA. Well, along with that can be emotional traumas that weren't resolved in their lifetime. So whether, like, I have some Irish DNA, which means the potato.
You love to drink?
No, not
I'm
at
just
all.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
In my younger years, yeah. But so it's part of the potato famine can be very alive right now, even though it's 200 years later. In your case, being a person of color, beautiful color, slavery can be in the background. It can be in the background on a very subtle level, and we get to go into those realms to not so much reenact the past, but let's finish it and leave it behind so we can be fully present, manifesting our best life.
Yeah. I'm having a moment. I'll get to that in a minute. I just had a flashback to something I didn't share with you that was happening in there. I'll get to it.
Okay.
So let me get this straight for the viewers, and you guys get your questions and stuff ready.
Yeah. Answer anything.
Right. It's really interesting. Now, I'm lying. I didn't always. In the last few years, as I have awakened and evolved spiritually with my soul purpose, I've seen and felt, I know it to be true. It's in my world, it's like a slinky when it comes to ancestry. Mm-hmm. I always felt like, because I was, at first when my career broke, I was like, how in the world is this happening? These were not the things that happened to kids like me. And that's when I started seeing the slinky thing, like how all the things that my ancestors did with purpose, all the things they did that they meant when they were afforded a view down the sidewalk of the future. Some of them saw me, actually saw me. And what they did, all those things that they created through challenges and those things that they did that sent them to where they went next, feeling like they'd done something. Yeah. All of that didn't go with them. It didn't just hang out in the corner. It slinkied back to front and landed on me, every one of them.
Absolutely.
So I have all kinds of things. So here's the deal. And I have a coaching client who even before I met you 2 weeks ago, she was going to speak. And we had this fast action call 20 minutes before she went on. She was really nervous about speaking about some trauma and abuse in her home because the abuser was the father and everybody was going to be watching, and she didn't want to piss them off talking about it. So somehow we got to it, and I said, listen, your ancestors are all there with you. And she did it. She went in, she said father, she said it all, which shocked me because I didn't think she'd have the guts to do it. But she said afterwards that she felt such a release and didn't get any backlash. None. Wow. Zero from the family. Like they didn't know anyway. They all knew. So, and a lot of that, talk about this, Gary, a lot of this work you do, I believe, it takes us directly to the room of secrets.
Yes, absolutely.
Talk about that, because I know what happened with me the other
Yeah,
night.
well, so many people, it's like, the funny thing is how negative things are passed down in family systems. They're almost unspoken. But I think as children, we're very intuitive and we pick up the energy, even though there is a secret there that's not spoken overtly. People act out around it.
Mhm.
And it's all information. So that's why in any constellation experience, that whatever happens in the rep's bodies or whatever thoughts come into their head, it's actually a thought that one of your ancestors might have had. Now, the interesting thing is, 90% of the people in most constellations are dead. How can this information come through living bodies, which emanates from your ancestry, that past part of the slinky, in real time? So you
Right.
say, wow. So a lot of times we have, like, say women were sexually abused, they might say I was abused, and it's a big family secret, probably the worst kept secret,
Yeah.
because incest keeps getting acted out generation after generation. But when we speak the truth, like with your bell there, it's like ding. I call it the Ella Fitzgerald moment. It's like when the glass breaks, we finally said the truth. Yeah,
I remember those
exactly. And then
commercials.
boom, it can break that glass, and that glass is the secret that everyone's pretending. It's the elephant in the room that no one sees, but everyone knows is there.
So let me ask you two things. This is a two-part question.
Sure.
When those things are happening, the ancestral things landing within us and our journey, our experience, resonating with our soul listening, okay, the frequency.
Yeah.
Could it be possible? You know how we say deja vu?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Could some of that stuff be, because you always wonder, was I a this in a past life? That's what it's always attributed to. But could it not be that we are experiencing some of the stuff that's coming from the ancestral line?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm.
And a lot of our problems are actually repetition. It's like we almost create the same drama over again in a different generation to show honor and love and respect for the suffering that came before. Now, the catch 22 in that is I don't think we incarnated to suffer and repeat someone else's suffering to show love. Can we show love, leave the suffering they had with them, say it was a famine or Holocaust or whatever, even slavery? And yes, that was the past, but guess what? I'm strong. I'm not persecuted. I'm going to excel in this life because that's my chance now.
So generational curses.
Oh, yes.
What's the difference or similarity?
Well, it can be. I had an Asian client once, and we set up like a mother father, and the client was in the room, so it wasn't distance. She was in the room, and I said, "There's somebody missing. I just feel this ball of anger behind your father." And she said, "Oh, my father knocked up my mother and broke his fiance's heart. He was engaged to be married." Now, here's the interesting thing. This woman, so I put in a woman, and I generally don't let people act out, but she was yelling at the guy. She was so upset. Now, what's interesting is that mother, the client's mother, had 13 children with that father. 13 children. And where they were Asian, she had brothers and sisters in Australia, Japan, all over the world. They all called her without being told about the constellation, said, "How's your stomach feeling?" They've all had upset stomachs their whole life, 13 kids. After we did the constellation, they called her from all over the world saying, "My body feels different this week than it's ever felt." Those children, not knowing about the dumped fiance, were carrying the anger of that spurned lover, so to speak, for the father unconsciously. And the minute we released it, everyone's body released without even being told that the therapeutic session had taken place.
Interesting. It makes me wonder too. You know how the Mormons pray for the dead?
Yeah.
Is that it's an ancestral thing, and
Yeah.
it's the only religious one that I know of. I'm sure there must be other,
Well,
but
I'm
I
sure
mean, as far as in the United States.
Catholicism, I mean, anyone who goes to a funeral, prays for the dead or wishes them an end to their suffering.
Oh, in Catholics with purgatory.
Yeah, and all those belief systems. Yeah, but what I've found over the years with thousands of clients is grief is the common denominator. If someone does the alcohol or drugs, I don't demonize that. That's just their choice of medicine. And what drives the choice to that medicine is the grief that's unresolved. So you look at these young kids, whether they're committing suicide or whatever's going on, it's what are they carrying that's bigger than them that they can't handle? No one goes into the subconscious aspect of the grief, loss, or pain that these young people can be carrying that they don't have to carry. So they react by doing drugs to get away from the pain rather than diving into it and releasing it.
That's a great point. And while you were saying that, Gary, it made me think about how we hear people just accept the fact that I'm an alcoholic because my dad, my grandpa, I come from a long line of alcoholics, as if it were genetic.
Right. So it's what I find with that, there's a behavioral loyalty. So it's like, oh, I have to be like the men who came before. Well, I'll drink too. But when we go back, say in an Irish family system with the helplessness of the famine, it's like grief of having a dead baby who starved to death because there was no food. That grief created the reaction to drink alcohol to get away from the pain. Then successive generations copy the behavior, forgetting that it really was grief and helplessness. So I find a lot of the work I do, we go into a place of grief and helplessness over the bigger forces of life that create an accident, you name it, any kind of tragedy. And so everyone starts to copy the behavior. So I never demonize the substance. The substance is neutral. It's like money. You can do good with it. You can do bad with it. It's not the substance. It's the unresolved emotions underneath that are driving the behavior.
I'm going to tell you something else that I picked up after we got off the call the other night. I was just laying there because I go to bed like 2.5 hours before my husband. And I was laying there and I was like, hey, because of the way I was viewing it, like I was like in an audience viewing it, but almost like the director, because it was just, I don't want to say weird. It was different. A different perspective. And it made me think about when I was dating Brian, my husband, and I found out he had never seen things like The Color Purple, Roots. And we started out, it was all educational. I was like excited to expose him to him. But when we watched Roots, he's sitting on one side of the couch, I'm on the other. And then when they, like found Kunta Kinte and cut his foot off or whatever, and I turned and I looked at him and he was like, what? I was like, You know what I mean? It was like I was looking through the eyes of the slaves from my ancestry, and he represented the owners, whether they were or not.
Right, exactly.
It was, and I couldn't understand why, because I kept doing it. And he was like, you're doing it again. Why don't we just turn this off? And I was like, no, I don't mean it personally, but for some reason, I keep looking over there. So anyway, interesting. It's about perspective. So for you that have just popped in since the top, we're here with Gary Stewart today, who is a #1 best-selling author and one of the only people I know. If not, Gary, do other people do this? Or are you like the only one?
Yeah, all over the world. No, all over the world. There's thousands of people who do this. There's just a new group. I get an email, Family Constellations in India. There's groups in Greece, Croatia, Italy, England, Japan, China.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like the best kept secret in the world. We say it's like doing 10 years of psychotherapy in 45 minutes.
I did not know it existed. When we come back, we're going to take a short break. I want to talk about a lot of things. I want to talk about your years that you spent in comedy. I want to.
That's no joke. Yeah,
I know. And I want to find out how this calling that you have on your life to do this work came about.
Okay.
Did something knock on the door and you answered and said, hey, guess what?
Yes.
So that and more, you guys and we're going to also get to your questions and comments in just a moment. We'll be right back with Gary Stewart. Don't you dare go away.
Except I received this insight about a title called Prisoner of War. The book.
Welcome back to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I'm your host, Lauren Michaels Harris, and we're here today with Master Constellation Facilitator, which constellation in this case has nothing to do with the stars, as our guest so eloquently put before we went to break. Before I bring Gary back, though, I wanted to just say over the weekend or anytime, it's never too late to make a great decision. One of the ones that I've decided is great for me and treating myself in the way it should be, putting down things that don't serve me any longer, i.e. Monster drinks, Diet Coke, go on and on and on, right? So what I love about this is sometimes I mean to, but I just can't get my veggies in. And so this takes care of it. Why? Because this small can is 2 full servings of vegetables, only 60 calories. Yep, 60 calories, it says it right on the can. And it's from 100% vegetable juice from concentrate. It's very easy. Easy to do, easy to love, easy to find. Head down the juice aisle in your local grocer and try it. Don't wait until you have to. Oops, I could have had a V8. Just do this. Pop the top. Delicious. Tastes just like candy. And we're going to get Gary back in here. I got some more questions, and we're going to get to your questions. Welcome back, Gary.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I wanted to start this segment. I found a quote of yours that I really love, because some people right now may be thinking, well, all this ancestry stuff so far has been about dark stuff and, like a wet labradoodle. That's why I smell like a wet labradoodle, and I've never even been around one. I wondered how that was happening. But then this quote changes the dynamic, adds a brighter glow, if you will, where you say, we are our ancestors' dreams come true.
Absolutely.
Talk about that if you could.
Absolutely. Well, our family system did not come here to suffer. I mean, if you were a Jew in Germany, did they expect an Adolf Hitler to come along and do whatever? Well, we know what he did, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So, and everyone's life seems to throw us curveballs left and right, generationally. So every generation has their trauma to live through. They call World War II the Great Generation, and they didn't expect to live through that, but they did. So life kind of throws us stuff, but don't forget they had those dreams to do whatever they wanted to do, but something got in the way. The Depression got in the way. Slavery got in the way. People don't realize it was like the Arabs who were abducting people of color in Africa, selling them to the white people. So there's this whole Arab connection to slavery that people don't even know about.
Right.
Happened ancient, and I've worked with a significant amount of people of color with slavery, and when they arrived on American shores, they were so traumatized because if someone disagreed or they didn't like him, they threw them off the boat in the middle of the ocean. So everyone arrived naked. I mean, it's just that, and the trauma from that. But what I've found, a lot of people in the allegedly woke stuff that's happening now, they're just blaming perpetrator, and I'm not diminishing that white people were the perpetrators here, or Arabs for selling them, or even the villagers who would bring their youth to be sold.
Right.
It was a commercial enterprise.
Exactly.
The thing is, does it strengthen people today to blame white people for everything that happened to them? And what I've found is the anger is misplaced on the perpetrator rather than the string. So what if we looked at a person who had no shoes, no education, was enslaved, defeated slavery? That's where the power is, that they could have nothing and they still defeated the most oppressive force in the world with no education, no support, and they overcame it. That's where the power is, the people of color, not blame, shame, and guilting every white person that's alive today.
Right.
For what happened 400 years ago.
I agree with that.
I feel that weakens them rather than going for the strength that could overcome it. And the fact that these people are here today because their ancestors overcame one of the most ruthless belief systems in existence on Earth.
Now, one of the things I really love is you say ancestral intelligence. AI is for computers, but ancestral intelligence is a birthright. Now,
absolutely.
Now, here's what I'd like you to talk about, Gary, because it's really important. It covers two things. Our family stories that get lost, just like recipes. Yeah. Back in the day when I was little in my adoptive family, our grandmother had this big old family Bible.
Yeah.
No, a lot of homes had those. I mean, they were huge.
Yeah.
And inside of there were everything from 4-leaf clovers to locks of hair, death things, you know, from somebody's funeral, memorial, you know, all kinds of things. And then they would write in there who got married to whom, when, and where, and all that, whose baby was born where. And that's kind of fallen by the wayside. And stories aren't, people aren't talking, having conversation, even inside families like they once did. So a lot of those connectors, a lot of those things that can help make sense to some things we have no proof of, are lost. But then also, like you were talking about the slaves and the potato famine and the Jews, history oftentimes puts into books the stuff, the good parts, or the parts they want us, or the fear parts.
Right.
You know? And there's something left out in translation. Even the Bible says King James's version, which means it's not, that means things have been put in or taken out, and it's now a version of the original, hence the Dead Sea Scrolls and whatnot. So talk about, if you could, the work you do, and then I'm gonna tell you that thing that happened. And I didn't talk about when we were there because it happened in real time, but I didn't want to say it because I didn't want you to think I was saying, y'all got that wrong. You want me to tell you now?
Sure, if you like, yeah.
Well, it was the part when the thing about my mom being raped by my father, because I was the 5th child and she was already divorced from him, but he would come through town every now and then as an over-the-road truck driver to bring things to the other kids and, you know, whatever that was all about. And that night happened, and boom, boom, boom. And when you guys were reenacting that part or addressing that part, I think it was you said, or someone did, about my mother saying, I didn't want to be your mother, right? Remember that? Those were things. Right. And I heard her say to me, that's almost correct. It wasn't that I didn't want to be your mother. I wasn't ready to be a mother again. Because I'm on my own. I chose to have my other form. And now suddenly that choice was taken. And I wanted to tell you, but I didn't. And another thing is, I understood a lot from hearing that because that needed to be said that way. So she could say it to me or I wouldn't have believed it. But she's, you know, my mother was 32 years old when she conceived me, when the rape, well, when she delivered me, 4th of July, 1962. And do you know, I've asked everybody in that family, no one knows or can trace back to when she ever went on a date again, never had a boyfriend, never had a romantic connection. It was just her. She just cut that part, shut it down, was done. All those years, and she was 32 years old, Gary.
Yeah, that's young.
To just, you know, so, and it may have something to do with why my relationship with my husband began at 52, and I had only had one other 3.5-week dating experience when I was 22, nothing in between. And I now got me thinking, well, all those decades that I thought I was cursed, nobody wanted me, I'm just not meant, maybe I'm supposed to marry my career or whatever, could have been some of that slinky mindset. Talk about that.
Yeah. Well, often we show loyalty, even though we don't realize there's a pattern that we're following. We show loyalty to that. Now, you know, what happened in your constellation was that there was a lot of violence coming from your biological father there. And that could have been her not wanting to be with abusive men to protect herself, actually, and her children, even though she didn't keep you, so to speak, in the ideal Ozzie and Harriet type home, but you still were alive and supported by the foster care system, because whether it was too much for her to handle then or she had enough, you know, it's really hard to tell what was going on. Don't forget the time period that this was going on.
1962.
Hey, if you didn't have a man, you couldn't drive, you couldn't have a bank account. I mean, the sexism of that generation up until like the late 70s, women really weren't liberated to be independent beings. They had to be codependent on a man.
And that was not my mom. That was not Lucille, honey. No. But she told me once.
She was. See how strong.
Yes. One time I asked her, I was like, Mom, how come you don't have a boyfriend or you don't have a date? And she goes, boy, you couldn't melt a man and pour him over me. So she meant that shit.
Yeah, yeah.
She's like, don't even say it. Don't even spell the word out, MAN. So I get it. Hey, Christopher Casson is on. Hi, Chris. And he asks, does the same apply to the poverty mindset as well? I mean, regarding being passed on.
Economically, it can be two levels on poverty. Number one, if your ancestors stole a lot of money, you may pay off the karmic debt by being poor because someone stole money from a previous generation. Now, the other thing is what I talk a lot about is like we were talking about alcoholism earlier and drug use. And there can be a loyalty to that suffering. I'm a man in the family of alcoholics, so I have to drink like my father, my grandfather. So it's a way of showing symbolic love. So that goes with poverty as well. Oh, my ancestors suffered. Don't forget, there's a lot of religious beliefs. The devil is money. Money is evil. People do bad things with money. And that can be in, say, a Christian belief system where poverty is closer to God than wealth is closer to God.
Pious.
Yeah. They could have that in the family system, or it's they love the struggle more than the reward. Don't forget the American Depression. The American Depression create a lot of fear and scarcity beliefs.
Sure.
As well. Right. Be loyal to that. How they suffered financially, you have to suffer the same way.
Now, what about the opposite, Gary? For like when we see people, I used to look at people, I was like, they don't even work for nothing. They, it's nowadays they're called entitled, where everything just seems to fall in place for them. Could that be because somebody else did all the work?
That is exactly. And sometimes those rich people, have drug abuse and stuff like that. And I've worked with people who are connected to some wealthy families, and if someone was victimized, for them to get that wealth, the children may pick up on the victims in the wealthy family that were victimized so they could be wealthy. So here they may be wealthy, but their children could be either alcoholics or drug addicts because they're representing the victims that, say, the patriarch created to attain that wealth.
All the necks that they stood on to get there.
Exactly. And their children could suffer. Bernie Madoff is kind
of... The Bible says that too, Gary.
Oh, absolutely.
The sins of the fathers.
Right, exactly. And that's really true. That's one of the truest parts of the Bible. So it's Bernie Madoff case is kind of interesting. Here he died recently in jail for
who?
Bernie Madoff. Yeah. And all these people, Steven Spielberg trusted him. All these big people wanted a good return on their money, and they bought into the Ponzi scheme.
And they probably knew a little bit.
Oh yeah,
too good to be true.
Is one son died of colon cancer 6 months later. Another one committed suicide. His children could not live with the guilt of what their father did, and they succumbed very young over the guilt. Now, the interesting thing is Bernie was like the celebrity. He ran the commissary or whatever in prison, and he became a celebrity among the criminals, which is kind of
sure he did.
So it's interesting. Somehow it looks like the perpetrators don't suffer, and yet their kids would bear the burden, and their lives are cut short over what their father did. So I think we call it systemic guilt. And those boys couldn't handle it. And then, unfortunately, their lives ended abruptly after the Ponzi scheme was revealed. I think within 6 months or a year, both his children were dead.
Have you ever heard of something called the 27 Club?
No.
That's people like John Belushi, Heath Ledger, Amy Winehouse. There's a bunch of them. Yeah. At 27, they all checked out.
Jimi Hendrix, Brian Jones.
The 27 Club.
Yeah.
Right. And I wonder about that, and if that's kind of the something in there.
It's interesting when you put 7 and 2 together, it equals 9 in numerology, and 9 is completion or an endpoint. The number 9.
Oh,
it's kind of interesting numerologically.
It really is
the endpoint. Like 1 is the beginning. I think 10 is the new beginning. But number 9, if you really get stuck there, Janis Joplin, I think, was 27 as well. So
there's a whole. When you really get into it,
it's amazing. Yeah,
it is amazing. And the thing is, it's not like all of them were drug addicts that's not the case.
I know exactly.
And then when I think about like even closer ancestral thing like that, I think about Whitney Houston.
Yeah,
and her daughter. how it was almost like she pulled herself into that legacy.
Right.
Or was she pulled?
Right. And now didn't their daughter die? Was it Bobby Brown who died recently, or the daughter as well?
The daughter died like 2 years, not
Yeah, right,
like
exactly.
right after her.
Now, what's interesting with stuff like that, if you look at like Christopher Reeve, who died, I forget what he died from. Was it like ALS or whatever? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, his wife, even though they had a 13-year-old son, she died of lung cancer a year after he died.
Mhm.
So was the grief from losing her husband, the father of their child, greater? So there's a thing that we call being drawn to death. If people love the dead more than being alive, they die sooner to be with the dead, almost to comfort the dead. They don't have to, but the love is greater for the dead than it is for the living in the future. So we find some diseases that strike people are actually their love for the dead is greater than loving their life.
Mm.
And kind of disease makes the bridge for them to rejoin the dead. I know it sounds kind of illogical, but when you look at things that happen like that, when you can step back and observe it, you can see the pattern. Or if someone died young, every generation, someone will die young to repeat it. So I don't know what happened in the 27 Club, but maybe there was someone who died at 27 in their family system, and they're copying that to be with that person who died young.
So on the screen right now,
Yes.
Gary, I wanted to, we're in the last 10 minutes or so.
Okay, thank you.
And I thought this would be a great time to share with people about the actual work, the workshops, the Zoom, the in-person. And on the screen, I'll read some because I know it seems small as far as reading it from there.
Oh, that's fine. No, thank you.
But let's see here. We talked about you said, forget computer AI. Your DNA holds ancestral intelligence. Data mine your past for a better future.
Absolutely.
And then your family of origin survived all of human history to gift you life. Learn how ancestral intelligence got you here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I believe it, Gary. I'm telling you, because I'm, almost 50 years of my life seemed like nothing was ever going to work. And then suddenly everything changed.
Yeah.
And I felt like everything that the people in my bloodline before me did right found me.
Exactly. And that's what people forget. If there is suffering in the family, they actually did a good job. Can we say thank you to our entire family system, good, bad, or ugly, because we're here because of their suffering and struggle. And the fact that we're here is a major achievement. And
yes,
it's a gift. That's how the gift is passed on. And of course, it's almost like a pearl was passed on wrapped in an oyster shell. Boy, it looks real ugly on the outside. When you open up the inside, there's something beautiful. So our ancestors would be like that oyster shell. Boy,
yes,
through the mill. Wow, look what they delivered. So you're the pearl of your ancestors with all the, let's say, ugly trappings disappearing.
And the thing is, we're encouraged to seek in order to find.
Yes.
And so just because we have it coming, i.e. birthright, some of these things we have to seek.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they've been kept from us or whatever the case may be.
Absolutely.
So like when you say here, you exist because of ancestral intelligence. So look inside for answers now.
Yeah.
We know the negatives we've inherited.
Exactly.
It's time to see the positives.
Exactly. The fact that we're here is the biggest positive we could ever receive. And we never celebrate that gift. We just look at shoulda, coulda, woulda. When, wow, I'm here in spite of that suffering. I'm an unpersecuted Jew after Hitler did what Hitler did. Wow, what can I do now that I have the opportunity to thrive as an unpersecuted Jew in the 21st century?
A lot of great affirmations. Let me see here. I'm going to stop this one. And I want to show something else because you have a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
For people. Yeah. And I
have dynamics here.
I'm going to share this. 1 second. Okay. Let's go here. I think it's this one. Tell us about, for instance, you have this workshop coming up.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Yeah, in Sedona. So what we do is a group of people get together. They will give me their ancestral questionnaire. I don't need it. but sometimes it's good to have when you're doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
And we do 4 to 6 clients who want to improve stuff. This also works with organizations too. If you have a business problem or money's not coming in,
Oh.
or you have a block against receiving, which is, it can be, you get to see the subconscious roots in that. And
Wow.
so we can use it for businesses, and you name it, we can go there.
Now I know because I've been there, and Christopher Creek is where my soul is going to visit on the way to wherever's next. It's not by accident, I'm sure, that you reside in Sedona. It's a very special place. Tell everybody about that. It may encourage someone to check out what you've got going out there for all the perks that come with Sedona.
Exactly. Well, Sedona's a beautiful vacation spot. It's getting very touristy, but it's almost like being inside the Grand Canyon. A lot of people go to the Grand Canyon, and sure, it's wonderful, but when you're in Sedona, it's like you're at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, and everywhere you look is just a mystifying view. Plus, they have energy vortexes there.
Yes.
You go to the many vortexes and feel the energy like you did in Christopher Creek. And there's airport vortex. There's a ton of vortexes. And
it's real.
One of the most beautiful places on earth.
It really is. It really is. And I love when you pull in, you're coming in. I used to live in Phoenix, and I'd go there. And you know that church with that cross on it?
Yeah.
And then you walk, and then down there where all the fortune tellers and palm readers and people come there for the dirt and everything.
Exactly.
The water.
Yeah. I went swimming there last Friday. The creek, it's called Buddha Beach. I guess some new friends live there, and they know some secrets I didn't know about it. And we were swimming in ice cold water in September. It was just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's very healing, they say. People come from all over the world to be healed there.
Yeah, it's one of the most beautiful places on earth. I'm happy to do my workshops there at the Sedona Healing Center.
Best place you could have picked, in my opinion. So, Gary, you've got a number of books. We see a few of them here. Your number one. Talk about, give us a little Reader's Digest
So,
synopsis.
The last book that I had around Christmas, the top one where the cursor is Raising Your Harmonious Child. And it's everything you do in the present moment.
Honey.
Has 100-year legacy. So if you make a bad choice now, that's going to reflect in your great-grandchildren 100 years from now. So if you are a parent or a grandparent, be careful with what you're doing, not to live in fear, but realize, do you want to be dissed in the future, or do you want to be loved in the future? So do you want people to say, oh my God, my
great-grandfather was a real asshole.
Right, exactly.
So and what's this one? Give the gift of transformation. How do you do that?
So I created my own oracle cards. So you can do a constellation at home. There's 72 family dynamics and values that I've worked with. And then you can do your own oracle spread. And there's a booklet to tell you how to do the spreads and whatever. So it's a way during COVID that people could do the work, or we can even do one-on-one readings. And it's just a easy way to do it, especially under lockdowns. So that's nice to work if there's no public. Deepak Chopra, I co-wrote a book with Amika Swami, who's a quantum physicist who was in the movie What the Bleep. And he was amazed by the work. He said, I'm going to have to rethink the universe after having a session with you. And so we call it quantum activation, because, constellations are really looking at consciousness and action. A lot of people will talk about consciousness, this and that. When you see a constellation, it is a moving force that's like going through everyone in the room. And that's what's amazing about it. Consciousness is really alive. It's almost like gravity. We don't see it, but it's there in the background 24/7. And when we choose to dive into it, boom, all kinds of secrets come out, all kind of energy is released, and it's all healing for everyone in the room.
Wow. So currently scrolling at the bottom of the
thank
screen.
You very much. That's my website.
That's the website where they can go and see all the stuff we just looked at. And here, you wanted to offer people your email. Not many people come on the show and do that. Talk about why that's on the screen right now.
Well, if they want to reach out for me or have any questions, and I can also give a referral in their city. I have very good friends in Chicago who do this as well. And so I know people all over the world. So I have friends in Seattle. I mean, it's Canada, you name it. So I can give referrals to anyone, anywhere in the world, because I'm in touch with the global community. And I'll be speaking at a national symposium of constellation facilitators in Colorado Springs in early November.
Awesome.
So it's a global force. It's just not a corporation that advertises like Pepsi. We're everywhere. It's just a word of mouth. Everyone says, "Oh my God, I heard about this," and or they heard about
That's
me.
the best way, if you ask
Yeah,
me.
and it's word of mouth referral. So anyone
That's a word of mouth referral is a testimonial.
Yeah, exactly.
You
So
see.
I'll refer anyone anywhere if they want to know, and I know where to direct them as well. So it's not about me, it's about the world getting healing right now. We're in such a precarious place as a species. It's time for all of us to join as one and help and support each other in healing.
That's awesome. Beautiful, beautiful work, Gary.
Thank
and
you.
like I said, I'm so grateful to the law of attraction and what I refer to as greater than for bringing this opportunity up close and personal to me, and for you for allowing me to experience it. The awakening that we all so crave,
Yeah.
or at least should, is just that. When you wake up physically, some days you wake up and your eyes pop wide open, your feet hit the floor, and you got all this energy. Sometimes you got to just get up and, drag booty a little bit. It takes about 10 minutes. But the thing about it is, you find that point in your day where you are completely wide awake. Yeah. Think about that, wherein it pertains to your soul day, okay? And go for it. We only use 10%. Yeah, is what they used to say. And I remember as a kid, I used to be good, because I'm going to need a whole bunch. And these are the things that I think fill in the other 90 and plus beyond. Exactly. So you guys, it's not about you get from point A to point B, because in between therein lies the journey. Point A is where we find ourselves at any given moment. And point B is simply everything beyond that moment. So go for it and find it. Gary, thank you so much. All the best to you. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
Yes. And if there's anything we can do to be of service for you, to you, through you, just let us know. We'll be right here for you. Great. And that goes the same for you guys out there. Listen, it's been a wonderful week. I look forward to seeing you Monday, God willing. We're going to kick things off with actor Dennis Mallon. He's back on Monday from Florida, telling us all the great things he's doing in television and movies. And I'm looking forward to it. It's a powerful week next week. Ask the experts. Our experts will be back on Wednesday. So mark your calendar. Gary, listen, anything you'd like to say as a Jerry Springer final thought today?
Yeah, just if people know that everything's a gift, and then act accordingly, because when we have inner peace, then outer peace will show in the world.
Ooh, that's definitely a bell ringer. I love it. And I love what you're doing. I love you. Thank you so much. You're a true blessing. I mean that.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys get out there and do. Oh, thanks, honey. Get out there and do what we do. We take great to greater, bright to brighter, strong to stronger. How? By simply everything that we find ourselves faced with. Make it a soul commitment to leave whatever it is just a little bit better than the way you found it. You might be surprised. God bless you. I'll see you Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye, everyone.
Show me your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you.